रेडी। पहले हाई पे लिखेंगे फिर लो पे लिखेंगे और ये सेट नंबर 99 के नाम से मिल जाएगा आपको। SSC CND ग्रेड टेस्ट नंबर 99 सॉफ्टवेयर के ऊपर। रेडी, स्टार्ट। Now, sir, honorable members will recall that the bill was introduced in the House of the People on the 2nd September 2003. It has had a long history and in one form or another it has been before the public since the end of 1949. In the statement of objects and reasons, the various stages through which the bill has passed since 1946 have been summarized, and I need not recapitulate on this occasion the circumstances in which the then Government of India took the decision in early 1946 to initiate an inquiry into the reform of our company law. I would remind honorable members that between 1946 and 1948, the entire field of company law was carefully reviewed by two distinguished company lawyers who were appointed to recommend the broad lines on which the present act should be revised. Their recommendations were examined in the then Ministry of Commerce and certain tentative departmental views which emerged were circulated in a comprehensive memorandum to all recognized trade and industrial associations, bar associations, the high courts and the state governments. That brought us to the end of 1949. Many representations on this memorandum were duly received from chambers of commerce, trade and industrial associations, state governments and the general public. At the end of 2000, the Government of India appointed a committee under the chairmanship of Sri Bhabha to go into the entire question of the revision of the Companies Act with particular reference to its bearing on the development of trade and industry in this country. This committee examined a large number of witnesses in many parts of the country and submitted its report in March 2002. This report again was circulated to all state governments, chambers of commerce, trade associations, high courts and many other bodies. At the same time, a special officer was appointed in the Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance to examine the report. In the light of the views received from the interested public and to submit proposals to government for the revision of the present act. The bill now before the House is based largely on the recommendations of the Company Law Committee, modified in a few particulars. Honorable members will notice that so far as public relations go, the bill has covered adequate ground. In a measure like the Companies Bill, however, which covers the entire field of the operation of joint stock companies, the limits of consultation and discussion can never be exhausted. And I would like to inform honorable members that although the bill was introduced in Parliament over 7 months ago, our officers have been engaged throughout this period in further studies and informal discussions with the interests concerned. And on occasions, I have also participated in such discussions. I have also given some further thought to some of the issues arising out of the bill, and I purpose at the appropriate stage to bring before the select committee any changes in the provisions of the bill which seem to me to be worthy of consideration in the light of this further examination. Now, honorable members would have noticed that the bill contains 6 clauses and 12 schedules. I think it is probably one of the longest legislative measures in recent legislative history. But its size might be regarded as misleading unless I make a few comments. The bill is both, one must remember, a consolidating and a amending measure. As mentioned in the statement of objects and reasons, this is the first opportunity which has occurred since 1923 for the consolidation of the Companies Act. Advantage has been taken of this opportunity to redraft several long and complicated sections in the present Act, which have been split up into a large number of clauses. This is the largest single factor accountable for the increase in the number of clauses in the bill. New clauses embodying substantial changes in the present law would hardly constitute more than a small fraction of the bill. I would also draw attention to the structural changes in the bill to which a reference has been made in the statement of objects and reasons. The redraft of the bill and the rearrangement of the existing chapters in the Companies Act in a more logical order have, I think, resulted in a noticeable improvement in the form of the bill, and I hope will facilitate better understanding and appreciation of the scheme. I wish that the Act, which came into effect long ago, was implemented properly. I know that the minister here is very earnest in implementing it, but unfortunately, his colleagues at the state level and disappointing him. Unfortunately, no steps have been taken for trimming or toning up the administration at the state level and at the district level. They have to be taken immediately. I should like now to make a few observations on the budget. This budget marks a turning point in the history of our country. It is no use attempting, as some of my friends have done, either to deprecate the budget very strongly or to suggest that we are not witnessing a new revolution in our methods of fiscal training and technique. I want it to be quite clearly pointed out to my friends that we are now facing the lean years of Indian finance. Hitherto, we had revenue surpluses which were a form of public saving and which were meant to be utilized for capital development. hereafter this form of revenue surplus would not be available. We have therefore to find out ways and means of implementing our great program of national reconstruction at minimum cost. My point is that the deficit on revenue account would be of the order of about rupees 19 to 20 crores. Here, let me point out that I do not agree with those of my friends in the finance department who have attempted to suggest that rupees 9 or 18 crores which are obtained from Pakistan should be put to the revenue side of the budget. They are to be put on the capital side. ये 1000 प्लस वर्ड है, डिक्टेट किए गए हैं और ये आपको सेट नंबर 99 के नाम से मिल जाएगा. स्पीड 100 की है, फ्लक्चुएशन ना के बराबर है. 80 पे लिखेंगे. रेडी, started. Mr. Chairman, sir, I find myself in a little difficult position, having been called to speak after the long, instructive and informative speech, or shall I say, discourse by the Prime Minister. In the other house, the Prime Minister himself had said that it was not possible to do justice to the plan in the course of 1 or 2 speeches. If that is so in his case, with all his ability, with his vast experience and with his intimate knowledge of planning and also of the document before us, it is simply impossible for us to deal with even some of the salient features of the plan within the short time that you may be pleased to allow. I have therefore decided to deal with only 2 important matters, namely implementation and resources. But having to speak after the Prime Minister, I have to refer to some of the points he has made. I may state at the very outset that I do recognize that a great deal of thought has been bestowed on the preparation of the draft plan, and a lot of time and trouble have been taken over its preparation, and I also admire the patience and optimism of its authors, and I can even understand its tone or note of optimism that runs throughout the document. Yet I cannot see my way to congratulate them for the document before us. For after 10 years of functioning of a full-fledged planning commission in the country, after the working experience of 2 plans, I expected a different kind of document, a more realistic and business-like stock-taking of our efforts in the past. The picture, as the Prime Minister said, of the India to come is there, but I find that in important parts it is not clear. The lines are not at all distinct, and even some of the lines made clear in the previous plans have been blurred and they are not intelligible. For instance, certain needs which were described as basic needs of the people have been referred to in this draft as amenities. I give only one instance. Supply of drinking water for the villages was referred to as a basic need in the 10th plan, and in this plan it has been referred to as an amenity. I find that the draft is not as clear as was the 10th plan. The Planning Commission was appointed after the Constitution had been framed. The Constitution had given certain directive principles, and it was expected that the Planning Commission would come out with a plan for the implementation of those principles. I can give only one illustration. The Prime Minister talked about so many millions of children going to school. But how many millions are there who are not going to school? The directive principle lays down that by the end of 1960, all children up to 14 years should be in school, and now we find that even by the end of the 11th plan, we will not be able to send all children under 14 to school. We will be able to send children only up to 11. I know that there have been difficulties, but then we should be bold enough and honest enough to say that it was an impossible directive that should be modified and that it should not be there. About the other directive principles, I do not want to refer. I do not have the time either. I may point out that while I appreciate the remarkable achievements made, I also have to share the blame for what has not been done. In the 10th plan, you had fixed certain targets. Of course, the prices went up by 20%. Now you are going to make certain investments in the 3rd plan. I have the authoritative opinion of an economist. So we must not be satisfied with that. I say I can understand the note of self-satisfaction on their part, but for that they will not be there and they would have left the job long ago. So we have to devise ways and means. The Prime Minister knows that I have given some thought to the problems confronting us, and I have sent suggestions to him from time to time, and he has passed them on to the Planning Commission. Sir, at the time of the preparation of the second plan, I had sent some suggestions, and one of them was that I wanted to provide work to the unemployed in the villages. It is said that we do require better technique, but I know that in the villages where you have provided irrigation facilities, better seeds and fertilizers, and done everything to help the agriculturist, still the yield per acre has not gone up. There have been price competitions, but that is a delusion. You put so much fertilizers in a place and you can show a bumper crop, but the average has gone down. ये आपको SSC C D टेस्ट नंबर 99 के नाम से मिल जाएगा. 840 वर्ड है और स्पीड 80 to 85 के आसपास है. 85 है लगभग, फ्लेक्सेशन के साथ में माइनर. अगर विद कोमा टाइप करना चाहते हो आप इसको, नो कोमा टाइप करना चाहते हो, 460 नंबर मिलेगा आपको. केसी सोर्स है 60.